Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Elseworlds Exchange. I'm Sal.
And I'm Tiffany.
Welcome to the show, Tiffany, once again.
Thanks. Really, it's my week, so
That's
welcome
right.
to my show.
Oh, I see how it is.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, well, all right. Welcome to Tiffany's show, everybody.
It's not really my show.
I still took it away from you.
That's
so
right.
Today we're going to be talking about Comic-Cons, because San Diego was last weekend. We're getting rapidly closer to it having been a week away. So, you know, we're getting closer and closer to October, which is New York Comic-Con, which is our biggest show that we attend.
That's right.
It's us and Valiant. Valiant and us put all of our eggs in one basket, and we hit New York with a vengeance.
That's true. We also didn't go to Baltimore.
But we have also been going to Baltimore, and we'll cover all the shows that we like to go to, and all the pros and cons of the con-going experience. And actually, come back.
All right.
And actually, it's interesting because we've been at cons from all different sides of the table. We've gone as non-fans. We've gone, like, as I've brought people who have not been fans at all of comics in any way.
Yep.
We've gone to different types of cons, video game shows, trade shows, toy shows, that kind of thing, in addition to comics. And we've gone as exhibitors, we've gone as pros, and we've gone as press.
And some of us have gone as volunteers.
That's true. So there's lots of different examples of how you can attend a con. But so this episode is in celebration of the con-going experience, and I subtitled it "Tips and Tricks" or "Tips and Tales."
Yeah, and we got plenty of those.
Yeah, so if you've never been to a con, or you've gone to a con, but you're kind of like, I want to make this work better, or I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Hopefully we'll be here to help. So I'm going to relegate that to kind of like towards the end of the show. Okay. So if there's any questions, we can probably field some of those.
Yeah.
Take advantage of the live format when this show is live, usually.
Which is now.
Which is right now.
Unless you're watching it later.
Then it's not.
No.
So, all right, here are a couple of stories about some shows that we do. I guess we'll go over just a list of cons that we have attended and slash attend regularly. Baltimore Comic-Con might be the one that we go to. It's Comic-Con. It's Baltimore and New York that are the ones that we go to the most, or have been to the most.
Yes.
New York was the one we went to the first. That was my first con.
Yes.
I think it was yours as well.
Well, yeah.
And I think the first one we went to was 2006.
Yes.
I want to say that was it.
I don't really know.
It was the and
it was when it really just first started.
Exactly. The first year that New York Comic-Con started, we went to it.
Yeah, when we were just little comic fans.
Exactly. We didn't even have a YouTube channel at that point. But if you've seen our back issues on cons, and you've heard many of the stories about the first time we went to a New York Comic-Con, so I'll spare you that. And instead, go to that episode and watch it.
Yeah, you can watch that one, but be warned, there's a story that Sal tells in there that he remembers one way, and I remember another.
Oh, yeah?
Uh-huh.
Well, let's just clear the air then.
Oh,
Go ahead, tell that story.
It's the part of the story that you tell about the first year we went and the fire marshal showed up and they closed the con off from people getting in.
Yes.
And you went and we all cut the line.
Well, because,
so we go to the...
For some context, what happened was, if you've ever been to a huge scale con like New York, San Diego, Chicago's C2E2, then you usually get like a wristband or you'll get your tag and you can come and go.
As you please.
And there are multiple entrances through which you can do that.
That's correct.
At the first year of New York Comic-Con, they
screwed up.
Well, they miscalculated, and it's funny how often New York kind of like screws up some aspect of the show.
No, but they messed up real bad.
Well, they didn't. They miscalculated how many people actually wanted to go to a huge con.
Right.
And it was like in the tens of thousands instead of like the thousands that they expected.
Right, and they didn't expect everyone to want to be there at the same time.
Which is weird because like when you give hours, that's the window of time when people are going to be there.
It's going to be open.
But when we went, we went in. They had one section of the whole Javits Center for the show. We have a good time. We break for lunch, and they, if you've ever gone to a con, usually if it's in any kind of convention center, they'll have these kiosks open. You know, like a food court, more or less.
Yeah.
Or actually, in New York now they've opened up food trucks.
Yeah, they have. But we go somewhere else.
We don't do that. And by the way, here's a quick tip for you: don't waste your money at those places.
No, it's, you know what it is, like, it seems like you're gonna, like, save time because it's right there, but everyone else has had that thought, and the line's gonna be crazy.
Yes.
And with things, and I know, like, not a lot of people use Yelp, but the fact is, like, use Yelp when you're at a con.
That's the thing. If
they're
you're
gonna let you, determine how much you want to pay, how close it is to you,
yeah,
and you can just head off. And we've always done that, and yes, there are other people who will go and do that as well, but it's a lot fewer.
And the fact is, if you're traveling to a show, you're in a different place, you're in a different city, explore it and use lunch or dinner as a excuse to really get a chance to get out there.
Absolutely.
Because the worst thing you can do is go home and have people go like, "You were in Philadelphia, what'd you see?" And it's like, nothing.
I went inside of the convention center.
I went to a big room that was modeled after every other convention I've ever been to, because if in the days of Wizard World, you know, Tallahassee, there are 1,000 cons and they all look exactly the same.
Yep.
So go out and try different things. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is.
But anyway, so we broke for lunch. We went to Mangianaro's and we had a great Italian lunch.
Awesome.
Then we came back.
Right, now hang on. I do want to mention, if you've been to New York, I believe where they actually had the con is where they have the special guests.
Yes.
Like that one room.
Right.
Like it's that big kind of... It's weird. It's downstairs. It's got the concrete floor. I think that's where they had it. It's either
it was downstairs.
Yeah, it was
downstairs
the corner, and it was bizarre.
It was really weird.
And now you're like, oh, really?
Yeah.
Because it was tiny. So we get back, and there's this huge line.
Yeah.
And we're like, well, what is this for? It must be for people who don't have tickets.
Exactly. So we bypass that line, go all the way to the front to find that the fire marshal has visited, and they are closing it down.
Yeah, and they can't actually allow anyone in unless someone has left.
Right.
So they're like, as people are leaving, they let like a set of people in, and the line that we saw that is like out. It was
if you've ever been to the Javits, it's downstairs, up the stairs, up the other set of stairs, through the con and around the building. So you're screwed.
It was not good.
You're not getting back in.
So there we are, and they're like, there's the line that's here, and like it essentially like it's going in here, but then it has to cross around a bend.
Yes.
Right? And there's all these people like us, several of us, standing, looking, trying to figure out what's going on, because seemingly when we went in the first time, there was no problem.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, this gentleman of authority, seemingly of the fire marshal authority, comes out and says, everybody has to move and clear the hallway because they can't have us obstructing the hallway. And he does this kind of like sweeping
And by the way, the people we were involved in conversation with were con volunteers and like official people. It wasn't just like we made friends with the people in the front of the line.
No, but we also did. So how Sal remembers it is that when they did that, he just slipped into the line, and the rest of us, including myself, followed.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what actually happened. The truth of what happened is myself and a much taller, much larger gentleman who was right behind me, because I had gone up a little further, because I was like, I'm going to find out what's happening. I refuse to wait in this line.
Right. Yes.
And he and I had this moment where we looked at each other and then just slipped into the line. Now, I know the guy behind me who is huge. And I don't mean just like big. I mean like he's jacked.
Yeah, he lives.
No one's going to tell this guy to get out of the line.
No.
And now I'm with him.
Right.
And I look at you two, who is Sal and a friend of ours, and they got in with us.
Right.
So
that's how it worked out.
And that is how it
and
worked out.
And then they started letting people in like 2 at a time.
Right.
But then as we were going in, they were like, this line is capped.
Right, and I had gotten in because I was in front of Sal.
And they were like, no one is coming into the show for the rest of the day.
Yeah. No, it was like for like at least an hour.
Okay. Well, at that point, it was like
ridiculous.
4 or 5 o'clock at night, so it wasn't going to happen.
No.
And then you said, you know, he's with me.
Yeah, well, what happened was, like, they were like, I hear them yelling, and I turn around and I look, and I'm like, oh, no, they're with me.
Yeah. And then they looked at us, and then they looked at you, and they were like, no, they're not. And you're like, no, they are! And then you grabbed my hand and pulled us in.
Yes.
And they were like, all right.
Yep, and then we got in and we enjoyed the rest of the con.
Yeah.
But I just want to clear the air on that one.
Yeah.
That it was I who cut the line.
It was you who cut the line. So everyone can direct their rage.
That's right. That was my fault.
Yeah.
That was entirely me.
Yeah, from 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Right at her.
Right. If you were there that day.
Yeah. Then we cut you.
Yeah.
If you were at New York Comic Con 2006,
and
I cut you
in that
line.
line? Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I cut you in line. But we did get to meet Kevin Smith, and that was a lot of fun.
We did. That was awesome.
Yes. So that's one of the things that I like the most, or at least I was dazzled by the most from cons when we first started going, was you can meet celebrities and comic book creators.
And you know what's funny about that? Like, all the interactions we've had with celebrities have been really super positive and funny a lot of the times. Like, I remember when we met Ernie Hudson.
Yes.
And you have to remember, when you meet the celebrities, most of the time it's either on like the autograph floor, it's on the actual con floor itself. It's loud.
Yes.
So you're talking to them, but like you're trying to have like this kind of intimate conversation where you're like, I'm meeting you and this is awesome.
Yeah.
And they're just trying to hear you.
Yeah.
And we go to have our photo taken with Ernie Hudson, and he wanted to know what everybody's name was, which I was like, that's really cool. Like, he cares enough to find out what everyone's name is. So I'm like, my name's Tiffany. And he looks at me and he goes, Jiminy? And I'm like, what?
Like, yeah, you know, like most women.
Yeah.
I am named Jiminy.
My parents are huge fans of Pinocchio.
Yes.
And in particular, the cricket.
Right.
So they named me after their favorite
male
insect character.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and we clearly are about that, but like I've always like that's like one of my favorite moments.
Yeah, that's a great picture. There's a lot going on in that photo, by the way.
I love that photo.
That was from 2 years ago.
Yeah.
My sister worked in a specialty shoe store in the city, and one of her many Christmas gifts to everyone in the family for a couple of years was shoes. And she was like, I got you these really, really awesome sneakers that you can wear at the, anywhere, and they feel comfortable and they'll never wear down or die. And she gave them to me, and I was like, cool, thanks. And they were bright red. They looked like fucking clown shoes.
I remember those shoes.
And I hated them and avoided wearing them at all costs. One time I went to the gym and I was wearing I absently put on a pair of red trunks, my Superman shirt, and my red shoes, and I looked like a goddamn cosplayer.
Yes.
Or if you're a fan of Adventures of Superman, I look like Bibbo Babowski handing out sandwiches at the soup kitchen. But and never again. But then one day I was like, you know what? We're going to the con. And by the way, footwear is incredibly important.
It really
for going to a con, especially even if you're going for 1 day or 3 days or 4 or 5 like these other shows. You need proper footwear.
Yes.
If you've ever been on your feet for a while and you're like, these shoes are comfortable but they still hurt at the end of the day, get the insoles. Get the Dr. Scholl's, whatever they are.
Yeah.
Stick them in there. See how they feel. Because
don't put them in the first day. Get them before you go and try them out.
Wear them in.
Yeah.
Because your feet are gonna hurt.
Yep.
Remember one time I had a job interview in Manhattan, and I dressed to impress, and I wore my 3-piece suit and my matching shoes, and then I was gonna meet friends for dinner afterwards. So I went for my meeting at 9 a.m. and then waited until 6 p.m. for my friends to come up from Virginia, and I walked all throughout Manhattan in dress shoes, and my feet bled legitimately. And
wow.
So, yeah, it was a nightmare. It was a nightmare scenario.
That's like what it is when a girl decides to wear
high heels.
And they shouldn't.
And they should not do that.
But we do.
Yeah, and we keep recommending, because we don't care what kind of shoes you wear, to just wear comfortable shoes.
Yeah.
But, so anyway, I'm like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to hurt myself. I'm going to wear these stupid red clown shoes. And so I did. And you know what? They were pretty comfortable.
They were.
And I really didn't have to think about them. They're also breathable, so, it was really comfortable. And then we posed for our photo with Ernie Hudson, and the photographer, because Ernie Hudson was also participating in, a show car event, they had the Ecto 1A from Ghostbusters 2 in the background.
Yep.
And so when they took the photo, they're like, okay, so you're going to want all 4 of you in the photo, but you're also going to want Ecto 1A in there.
Yeah.
And you know what? You're also going to want our display inflatable Stay Puft Marshmallow Man in the photo as well.
That was where they could have cut it off.
So we're going to need, everyone to kind of stand at an angle, and we're really going to want to get your stupid goddamn clown shoes in this photo.
Yep.
Can we get that photo?
Yeah, I'll go grab it.
Just because why not? But so it's immortalized forever that I wore these stupid goddamn shoes. So if you do wear shoes, comfort is more important. I will say, outside of this photograph, I was very comfortable. So this is the photo in question.
I'm trying not to get any glare.
And those are my goddamn shoes.
They're the shoes. Oh, there we go.
Yep.
And they are.
But right, who takes a photo like that? These are professional photo takers, and they were like, here it all is.
Check out the behind the scenes you can also see here.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks for watching that. Fix it in Photoshop, make them blue or something.
Yeah, right?
Or black, I guess would be the way to go. It's really hard, I could just crop it.
Yeah. But that's so funny.
But
Ernie Hudson and I are wearing the same type of shoes. We're both wearing Converse.
That's true.
So.
But also, by the way, that's another thing that factors right into what you're going to want.
Sal's a giant. He's
monster.
almost as tall as the Stay Puft
I'm
Marshal.
not that big.
And you know how tall he was, so.
But, Ethan, by the way, never really went to cons. His first con was, I think, New York Comic Con, and with us over the years, and he doesn't really go for the whole celebrity autograph picture kind of thing, but I threw those shoes out, by the way.
He doesn't have those shoes anymore.
Apparently. But when we got our picture with Ernie Hudson, I'm like, do you want to go do that picture with Ernie Hudson? Expecting him fully to go, nah. But he was like, yeah, all right, let's go. And the more we got to it, the more excited he became.
Yes, he really was.
for being in a photo with Winston.
Yep.
So The one thing that I will say, it's a tip for if you go to a con, take as many pictures as you possibly can.
Yeah, you really should. Like, take pictures with cosplayers. Take pictures with celebrities if you get the opportunity.
Yeah, take pictures of the show and favorite things you don't want to forget. Things like...
Yes.
Because we have cameras in our phones, you can literally take a picture for days, as long as you have enough battery power.
Right, and you can take pictures of things that you're like, man, I want to make sure I check that out later on, especially if something isn't available at the con. Like, if they're showing something that's a prototype, showing something that's coming out soon, take a picture of it.
And if you don't want to, like, carry around business cards, you can always take a picture of a business card.
Yes, we've done that several times. Like, you meet someone... You're like, I don't want to carry... I can't.
Or they only have one.
Yeah, you just click.
I just take a picture of it, and then I've got it forever. That's another thing that also factors in. You're going to want power. You're going to want actual power.
You gotta have power.
You're going to have... You need your Master Sword, and you're going to have to draw power from Eternia. But no, you're going to need power for your phones. And that is priority number one for me.
Yes.
Is you're going to need battery, or at least one of those, like, battery...
Like a power bank.
Power bank.
Yeah.
Don't forget it, because the last thing you're going to want, especially in the days of Pokemon Go, your battery will last maybe an hour.
Right, and they do have charging areas, and a lot of them, at least the past years that we've gone just recently, certain booths will sponsor something like that, where essentially you bring your phone, you plug it in, you lock it up, and then you come back later on and you get your phone back after it's
that's at
charged
larger
up. But that means
shows.
that you lost your phone for that amount of time. So if there is a photo you want to take, you missed out on it.
Yeah.
And if there's not an available plug at that time, you either have to sit by a wall and wait for your phone to charge with a bunch of other people.
Yep.
Yeah, we just had better success with making sure that we have
our own source of power.
Yeah, just have it with us.
So you will definitely need that. Getting outside of New York Comic Con, we went to that. We've also been to Baltimore Comic Con, and Baltimore is a really fun show.
It is.
It is primarily comics. There's no real other presence there.
No, they will have celebrities at times.
They're building up to that, but even then, like, there's 3 celebrities out of like 100 professional comic book creators.
Right. Baltimore is it's definitely a smaller experience.
Yes,
but it's a strong experience. Like, if you're looking to meet a comic creator who's from the East Coast, more than likely they will make the journey down there.
Yep. Oh, definitely. And larger scale people will be there. Unlike most Wizard World shows, which are basically world wrestling conventions. If you go to Baltimore and you want to, like, have an actual intimate experience with, like, a real creator like Mark Waid,
right,
you can just go, and he'll probably, like, I think it's a 2-day show, and because I never remember if they've expanded it to 3, but I think it is 3 now. I think it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But, like, if you go and they're busy, wait a minute. Because usually the crowds will dissipate.
Yes.
There will always be an opportunity at Baltimore for you to have, like, a real experience with somebody that you respect and admire. Which is kind of like the coolest thing about going to these cons, is not necessarily, like, collecting your autographs, but really cementing genuine, real experiences. I've read a lot of comment threads that feature, about cons, people asking, like, I'm going for the first time, what should I do? And it's like, talk to these people, treat them like human beings. Like, if you read a comic when you were a kid that you really love, and you remember who worked on it, like, and they're at this show, tell them.
Yes.
I remember one time we were leaving Baltimore Comic Con, and J.M. DeMatteis, who wrote Kraven's Last Hunt, Spider-Man 400, Spectacular Spider-Man number 200, like, the dude has written, and of course Justice League 3000 and all of these other great things. DeMatteis had a booth. I didn't know he was going to be there, and we were leaving. We were in a line to get a signature from, I think, J. Scott Campbell, and he was packing up his booth, and I'm like, hold on a second. I went over to him, and as he was leaving, I'm like, listen, Mr. DeMatteis, I just wanted to say, you wrote one of the most powerful comic books of my, like, young adult life, and it blew my fucking mind. And he was so, like, and I'm like, I don't need anything. I don't have any comics for you to sign. I just wanted to let you know. And he was so fucking blown away. He was just like, wow, thank you. Like, that's really cool. What's your name? And we just chatted for a little while about his process. And, like, that was more valuable than any signature. Although later I did get a signature.
Yes.
I think I've told the story about when we met the Doc Hammer and Jackson Public.
Yeah.
And I'll cut to the end of the story where we talked to them for like 2.5 hours.
It wasn't that long.
You talked to Doc Hammer for a good hour.
No, it was like 20 minutes.
It was a lot longer than 20 minutes. But our associate and I were just standing around talking to Jackson Public because he couldn't leave, and he was just like, I really want to leave. And I'm like, yeah, I don't blame you. And he and then at the end they were like, well, I guess we should probably get out of here. And I was like, yeah. And then I handed him like the things to sign.
Yeah.
I'm like,
it was literally the least slick thing you think you've ever done.
Well, because it was just like, it was this real moment where we're just treating each other like adults. They didn't even talk about comic books. They were talking about art and shit. And then I'm like, but don't forget, I'm a fan of yours.
Right, but I still want the signature.
Yeah, but don't forget, I'm going to ruin this moment by being a nerd.
Right. And by the way, that's like good to a good tip or like something to mention is that for the most part, artists and writers will be happy to talk with you. They'll be happy to sign something for you. Sometimes they'll charge, and that's entirely up to you if you feel like you want to pay for it or not, especially for just the signature alone. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, like, you're going to notice sometimes, especially like, let's say you have like 20 or so items that you feel you wanted to get signed by a person. Yeah. Try to look at them, see what their state is. Right. If they're doing one of these, that might not be the best time to start talking. Yeah. Also, if they're eating. Yes. Don't when they're eating. Like, we try to limit the interaction. If we know they're gonna probably leave, like maybe we'll just say hi, hey, thanks. Like, if it looks like they're leaving, it's just like, hey, listen, I just wanted to have this experience. Goodbye. Like, right. But like artists and writers and people just in general who are presenting at the con, they get con fatigue. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, they get tired. It's a long weekend. Yeah, even if you're walking around for 3 full days, like, them, and it feels like, well, why would they be tired? They're literally just sitting there for 3 full days. Right. Remember the last time you had to sit for 3 days. Right, and they kind of have to be on the whole time. Yeah, they have to interact. They have to, because if any creator, celebrity, whatever, has a negative experience with a fan, or they let the day get to them. Yes. Not only will the fan never forget it, but in the days of the internet, they're just going to share that experience, and they'll get a stigma. I know one huge. I saw another comment thread where people are like, "Do comic creators charge for signatures?" Most don't. No. One does, and he's one of the biggest comic book creators out there who definitely charges, and he has a negative reputation as a result of that. Yes. Not only for charging, but also for being a little terse with his audience. Mm-hmm. And it depends on how well you catch him, because we've met him a number of times, and I want to leave him nameless, although it's obvious who he is, and if you watch any of our videos, you'll find it. But we've had several experiences with him, and he has been both terse and incredibly gracious and pleasant. Yes. Yeah. Sometimes in the same exact experience. Yes. No, it's true. It's very true. It depends on like how you catch them and how you come off. Right. And if, let's say, you want a photo with them, or honestly anyone, like if you want to take a photo with a cosplayer, our thing is we always ask. Yeah. Like you always you're like, hey, is it all right if we grab a photo? Like, you know, they themselves, like, yes, they went to the con, they came in costume, but it's still nice to ask, because they too will have con fatigue. Oh yeah. The writer or the creator or the artist or whatever may not feel like having their photo taken. That's right, the thing. And there are some creators who are really gun shy about having their photo taken. Mm-hmm. We did an interview with Jim Salicrup, who was the editor of Spider-Man and Marvel at the time, about like 25 years, 30 years ago, and he was like, "I don't do video." Yeah. David Michelini, same person, doesn't want to take any photos. Doesn't do photos. So, you know, it's always really cool to just like say, hey, listen, is it cool if we if I do a photo? And like, if not, no big deal. I'm signatures just as well, just as good as that. Mm-hmm. Most are happy to do it though, because they know, you know what I mean? Like, if they're there, they're aware that these are the things that are going to happen. Right, and so they usually will let you know up front. Right. And like most of them, when it comes to photos, especially the creators, it's, you know, for them, that's just free publicity. If you tweet that out, if you share that on Instagram, you share that like on Snapchat or anything like that, like that's just reminding people that they exist. Exactly. So for the most part, they'll be fine, but they'll appreciate the courtesy. That's true. So Baltimore is a great show. Yes. We went last year. Actually, Rob from Comics Explained and Benny from Comic Story came with us this year. Yes. For the first time ever, and they had a really singular experience. They sure did. And the more into YouTube we get, and the further along we get as subscribers go, and views, and all that, and you know, notoriety goes, we have experienced the fan meetup, which is something that is kind of new to us at this point. Yeah. Somebody asked if we were going to do a fan meetup at Baltimore this year. Yes, we are going to do that. Although I find it presumptuous when we do it,
Like, I get, if Benny does it, it's like, and me too. But, like, when it's us, it's like, oh, you know, I don't want to be like, hey, when are our legions or throngs of fans are going to start?
But here's the thing. Like, if you're at Baltimore and you know that we're at Baltimore,
just say, hey.
Like, we'll try to let you know where we're at.
Yeah, it's hard to, like, to live tweet where we are. Nowadays, Periscope, I could legitimately actually just be like, I'm here.
Oh, yeah. No, that's very true. Also, that's another good point, though, is about the whole internet thing. Mm-hmm. Sometimes a con will have great internet, and sometimes it won't, especially if they offer Wi-Fi. Everyone's trying to use that Wi-Fi. And the funny thing about that, for me, is that all the cons are like, don't forget, we have our digital app that'll tell you where everything is.
Yeah, usually it's garbage and doesn't work.
And most of them require an internet connection in order to update. Yeah. So if you're interested in getting the scheduling, I know it's archaic, but pick up the schedule.
Pick up the schedule, like, or look it up. Or look it up beforehand.
Yeah, it's always a good idea that if you're interested in panels or screenings or anything like that, or even signings by certain artists who have scheduled
to schedule it around, like Scott Snyder was very, very in demand right now.
Yeah, so we would definitely recommend that you go online, like, even a day before, because the day before, pretty much people have canceled.
Yeah.
And they've gotten new people at that point. You can kind of make a schedule.
Yeah.
Put it on your phone if you want. Like,
that's
you know
true.
what I mean? Like, and, you know, just in a place that doesn't need internet access, put the time and the location. Because if you know the location, any volunteer can tell you where to go.
Exactly.
But they may not know where the panel is that you're specifically looking for. We've had that plenty of time where we're like, we're looking for this meetup.
Yeah.
And they're like, I don't know who that is. And you're like, but if you can tell them it's in, like, you know, conference room blah, they can tell you how to get there.
Exactly.
So, and for more popular ones of that, it's always, like, unfortunately, you will have to get there early. And everyone else is going to want to, like, do that as well. But
when it comes to, like, shows like San Diego and New York, you have to prioritize. Prioritizing what you want, what kind of experience you're looking for. There's shows like Dragon Con, which are so huge. And when I say huge, I mean, like, there are, like, cons within cons, and they're in different locations and different hotels. Even San Diego's gotten to that point at this degree, where you don't even need a badge to have a San Diego Comic-Con experience, because there are, like, other cons going on within the hotels. Or outside venues and crazy shit happening there. But you have to plan out, like, what you want, what kind of experience you're looking for, and then what kind of experience organically arises out of that. If your goal is signatures, then bring your books, plan a day. I would say plan, like, that day, and just get it all done within that day, so you have another day or two to, like, unwind and enjoy it.
And unfortunately, like, for the most part, most of the people you want are going to be there on Saturday if the con's over the weekend, but Saturday is usually the hardest time to get a signature.
It's the biggest day. There's going to be the most amount of people, and probably going to be the most high-profile guests.
Exactly. If you know a guest that you want is only there for one day, that's who you want to target. If you know someone's going to be there all weekend, you might want to wait until that Sunday to do it, but go earlier. They've been known to leave early. Like, if they find that, like, either they're getting tired or nobody's really showing up, they're gone.
Yeah, if their time goes from, like, let's say 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., don't show up at 3:50.
Because they'll probably have left.
They've probably already gone, which sucks, but sometimes
that
happens.
It can happen. It's just something to keep in mind.
But I keep that in mind for anyone I ever want to meet. I'll always try to get there, like, an hour beforehand, just to see how the line's going to be.
And don't forget, if you're looking to get a commission by pretty much any artist who is available to do so, whether that be you know, an actual person who works in the industry currently, or someone who is from Artist Alley, you want to set that up as early as you can. That could be something that if you are going to be there, let's say you're there Saturday and Sunday, you're going to want to try and get in the line on Saturday to fill in their schedule, because they have the schedule, and they're going to fill it in based on how long they believe it's going to take them to do the pieces, and then you just come and you pick it up later on.
You'll actually find that a lot of people will set up their commissions beforehand, usually through their website or Twitter.
Yeah, you can also do that.
Which is why I always recommend, if there's anybody that's, like, attending a show that's high profile, follow them on Twitter, or at least follow their social media for the week prior that they are going to be at the show. Because usually they will have the updates. Like, they're going to want you to be able to find them, and so as such, they're going to want to tell you the most up-to-date information, and it's their priority to do that and not the conventions. So, like, if you want to meet, like, let's say somebody like Kevin Smith, follow him on Twitter at least a week or at least a few days before the show, so that you can see if he's going to be there, or if he's, like, changed schedules, or if he's going to be late. Right.
Can I tell a quick story? Because someone mentioned the actor who played Rudy or Samwise, who would be Sean Astin. I have a great story about Sean Astin. He was at New York Comic Con, and he was doing signings, and ComicPOP's own Danielle is a big fan.
Yep, our current mod right now.
Yes, and she was unavailable for that day, and that was the day he was going to be
there. The only day he was going to be there.
He wasn't going to be there. So I was like, well, I could get her a signature, and, like, that's cool, but, like, she misses the actual interaction of talking to him, and that sucks.
But given the fact that, like, we, as ComicPOP, apply for press credentials, we and we shoot the show anyway, we're going to have some equipment on hand.
Right, so we actually had a little handy cam.
Yeah.
And I get in the line. Yes, this was a situation. I had to pay for the signature.
Yeah.
Totally. It was just, like, by the end of this, it was worth it.
But I will say, just a quick aside, when it comes to paying for signatures and whatnot, like I said, comic book creators for the most part will sign for free. There is no celebrity who will not charge. So,
no, it's true.
And it will be anywhere from $50 and up.
Yeah, we've seen 40.
I've seen 30, but not at New York Comic Con.
No. And that's another thing, too. They will charge based on the con they're at. New York Comic Con, they can charge pretty much whatever they want.
Yes.
Baltimore, if someone's there, it'll be a little bit less.
And by the way, New York Comic Con, it doesn't hurt to know the ins and outs of the show itself. New York Comic Con, unlike most larger scale shows, do not pay for their talent to come to the show.
No.
So if, like, you're meeting Sigourney Weaver at New York Comic Con, which, by the way, has happened and is ridiculously expensive.
Right.
It's her dime. So she's got to pay to not only get to New York.
But it's not just that. And, like, we'll get into that. But I want to finish the story.
But yes, continue your story. I'm sorry.
So I'm waiting online. It's just me.
Yep.
I make it to the front of the line. I pick out the photo I want to have him sign. And I talk to the handler, because there's always a handler
at the celebrity section.
At the celebrity section,
they're also going to have a person there to remove any uncomfortableness of handing money to somebody.
And there's that handler, and then there's the con volunteer handler, and I'm talking to both of them, and I kind of mentioned the situation, and I was like, "Do you think he would be willing to record a quick greeting to her?" And they're like, "I don't know, but you can ask."
Okay.
All right. Now, that's also very important. Most of the time, cameras are not allowed in the celebrity section.
Yeah, you usually can't take your own photo.
Right. But sometimes you can.
I would look for signage. Usually there's a sign that says, like, you can't take your own.
It depends on the celebrities. Certain celebrities get really crazy about that, and they won't allow anyone to take photos in the area of them.
Yeah.
So I get up there. I say hi to him. I ask him to sign the thing, and I go, and I very bluntly say, look, this is for a friend of mine. She couldn't be here today. Is there any way I could convince you to record a quick greeting to her?
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, okay, why not? And I was like, do it. And all of a sudden, like, everything I know about how to work a camera falls out of my brain.
Window, yeah.
Get the camera up, put it up there, and I'm like, okay. And he's signing the thing, and he's like, all right, what do you want me to say? And I'm like, oh, just say hi, Danielle. And he goes, hot Danielle? And I'm like, no. What?
What is with celebrities not having the ability to hear simple words?
I know. And I'm like, no, I want you to say hi, Danielle. And he's like, well, is she hot? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, okay, hi, hot Danielle.
Yeah.
And he just says this really cool greeting. And, like, it's one of those moments I'm never going to forget.
Yeah.
Because he was so accommodating, so charming.
Yep.
So just willing to go for it. Totally there for the fans. And, again, it was a minimal fee to get this experience.
Yeah, his not as expensive as most.
No. And it was totally worth it. It's
right.
like worth the wait, worth meeting this person. And I think it comes down to that, is that you need to decide who you think's going to be worth it.
Yeah.
Who you think you're going to have the experience with. So, I will never forget.
No, it's true.
Hot Danielle.
And it's funny because, like, you are paying for an experience to have with this person, but, like, sometimes they recognize that, and so they're like, they create a new situation.
Yeah,
like,
Nathan Fillion is renowned for that, especially if you pay to get a
photo with him.
A photo with him.
Because, like, if you've ever looked at certain celebrity photographs, like, you could flip it, and the only thing that changes is the person in the other photo.
Yes.
With Fillion, he's like, let's mess with it. Let's change the whole thing. I never do celebrity photos. I just don't like them.
No, they're also very costly. But
they're
that's
very
up
expensive.
To you.
Yeah, that's really your priority.
Right,
but,
and here's the thing, though. You know for a fact that Fillion is willing to do fun and awesome things, so you might determine that that's a fee you're willing to charge because you know you're going to A, get a great experience, and B, a photo that's unlike anyone else's photos. Yeah. So could be worth it.
But you'll find that most celebrities also will not allow a selfie without paying for some number.
Right. Also, we were talking before about Sigourney Weaver. Certain celebrities, like Sigourney Weaver, they're with a group,
yes.
and the group is who determines the price. So that's why, like, someone like her is like $200 to get.
I think it was $400.
It was ridiculous, whatever.
Which is well, because it was $200, I would have considered it.
Right.
But at $400, I was like, that is not happening.
No, it's true.
I guess I'll never meet her then. Like, that was how it went.
Exactly, and that really comes down to the fact that we found out she was with a group, especially when you saw it with a bunch of other people.
Yeah.
So as soon as you see that, you know that there's not only the celebrity's fee that's involved with that, but now there's a group's fee that's involved with that. So you know it's going to be very, very expensive.
That's true.
But again, it comes down to what you're willing to pay for, how important it is to you, and that's entirely up to you. $4 for Sigourney Weaver. To answer that question.
But there's some, by the way, I remember when I was with Ethan, we were like joking around about that cost. We were like, okay, so how many people do you think purchased the $400 signature? And then it's like, well, it has to be a certain number or it's not worth it for her to come here. So it has to be like over $100 or 100 people. Like, okay, well, 100 times 400 is holy crap. And then it's like, well, it's probably, if there's 25,000 people here right now, that means that like, what percentage knows who Sigourney Weaver is and is willing to pay $400? Holy shit. Oh my God, how much money did she make this fucking day?
It's exactly
for like a 2-hour window.
It's exactly that kind of thing.
Yeah.
When we met Carrie Fisher, which again, she was a little more costly, but the experience was spectacular because she's a little out of her gourd. Yeah.
But in like a charming kind of like drunk aunt way.
And to the point where like she had a little pot of glitter, and after she signed your thing, she would then put glitter on
She would just like meh.
Like touch your face.
Like if you were in John Travolta's Family from Face Off.
Yeah, it was bizarre, but like.
But by the time we got to her, she had run out of glitter.
She had run out of glitter, but she was covered in glitter, and like that wait. While I hate waiting in lines, that wait in particular was so much fun.
Yes.
Because it was the anticipation of, oh my God, I'm going to meet Princess Leia. And then it was, why is everybody covered in glitter? And then it was piecing it together. And then it was seeing Emperor Palpatine.
And then it was seeing Ian McDiarmid adjacent to the line and no one going to him because his cost for signature was so outrageous for him being so powerful. But he had that fucking look on his face. Like, he is not acting when he plays Emperor Palpatine.
Nope.
At least when he's playing the prequels Emperor Palpatine. That moment where he's just like sitting, we got a glimpse of him as we were going through the snake line, and he's just sitting there like, it's just, son of a bitch. It was that smile that he made in freaking, at like Qui-Gon's funeral or whatever. You're like, what the crap, McDiarmid? What are you doing?
Yeah. So that was
a singular
an amazing experience.
Should we plug in the thing?
Oh yeah, I can totally plug it.
Okay, well, while you're doing that, I'm going to transition from Baltimore. So Baltimore is a solely con experience. It's a con-centric experience, or comic-centric experience. They have great back issues. They have great trades. It's a great show. They also have a lot of cosplayers. It's the biggest show in Baltimore, so like, I think it's worth going.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of cosplayers. If you definitely want to pick up, if you're looking for something to complete a collection, you probably will find it there.
That's true.
Because there are so many comic retailers that show up to that one.
Yeah. So moving away from Baltimore, we also have gone several times to Kineticon, as you might have noticed.
Yes.
Kineticon is not a comic book convention.
No, it's a pop culture convention.
Yes.
It's easily that. It's a lot of vendors.
And a lot of cosplayers.
There's very little comic presence there. I think there was maybe one booth this year that was selling back issues.
Yep.
So they had that. That's cool. They always have like swords. There's a lot of manga though.
They do.
So,
it's almost an anime convention.
Right, which makes sense because back in the day when New York started, there was also an anime convention, and then eventually New York absorbed the anime convention, and they had the New York Comic Con and anime convention at the
Anime
same
Expo
time.
used to exist.
And that was like in another section of the Javits, and then they just dissolved it.
Yeah, then they just it's interesting how ReedPop like will just absorb things and then eliminate them.
Yeah, I mean like there's still
it's certainly like Cloverleaf from Roger Rabbit, where they bought the red card to dismantle it.
Right. But I mean, like, there's still an anime presence, I think,
in
New
there
York,
is. Oh, yeah.
But there literally was.
Well, they were like, okay, so we already have a lot of anime. All right, but you also have the show that, like, competes with us that has anime. Yeah. So we'll buy it, and then we'll have one, and then we'll see how much it costs to have that show, and then we'll get rid of it forever.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what they did. And
You'll also notice they got BookCon.
Yeah.
And so that'll be the end of that.
Yeah. But, like, I loved when New York had the anime convention in it. Because I was like, hooray! And, like, we would usually hit that, but I would typically go there
That's
by
yours.
myself.
Yeah, you're like, I'm going to bomb in on this.
I'm like, I'm just going to go there and just,
Yeah.
But yeah, ConnecticCon, they also have, like, some celebrities there.
Yeah, it depends on what year it is, or it depends on what month or what week within July they have it.
Yes.
Because it's always around the same time as San Diego, so it's like, people prioritize. But...
Yes, exactly. And it's weird, too, because, like, for me, ConnecticCon is this bizarre amalgam of, like, a bunch of other things.
Yeah.
Because they have a kind of interesting and strong gaming section.
They do. It's funny.
Which reminds me of PAX.
Yeah, it's a lot of things at once, and it's been that way forever since it started. And we've been kind of I've been very impressed with what they've done and how they have remained and maintained their identity as ConnecticCon. Like just one show.
Yeah.
It's not like a Wizard World show. It's not like an anime show,
Nope.
and it's not like PAX. It's
Nope.
its own animal.
Yep.
But it's fun and whatever. But let's move on.
Yeah.
So there's also smaller cons. Let's talk about some other smaller shows we've been to. There's like classic Comic Cons that we've been to, like the Clifton Comic Show, which has been going on since I was reading Wizard magazine. That's how long the Clifton Comic Show happens.
Yeah,
it's a church basement con. It is, if you want to know what it was like to go to Comic Cons in 1994, then you should go to Clifton Comic Show, because it is literally a church basement full of comic book stores that have sent their shit to that floor. And it's kind of fun and it's kind of endearing, and the guys who run it love what they do, and they love comic books, and they have auctions, and they just go nuts. It's a lot. It's really, really cute. It is a pain in the ass to go to Clifton, but it's almost. I think it's worth it. At least once.
Okay.
And I think we've done it once. So there you go.
And I would never even think of it again.
No,
and by the way, we moved on from ConnecticCon. Did you have any like cool moments and stories from that?
From ConnecticCon?
Yeah. Because we talked about stuff from Baltimore and New York.
But from ConnecticCon, well, we when we filmed our scavenger hunt, the year before that, we were there as press, and they had the most impressive lineup of people there than ever before, because they had like voice actors. They had the dude who played Skeletor. Which was amazing,
and he did it for you. And
at the end of the show, I was very, because he's like 80 something, and we had to like, and I didn't want to like bug him and be like, "You're Skeletor, herpader," but like we wound up in this really, really long interview / conversation in which I asked him just about the process and about the experience, and motherfucker played Skeletor. Like, I got to give him like big ups for that. And like at the end of it, I gave him an opportunity to try it, and I was like, we took a break so I could cut it if he was like, "I don't want to do that."
Right.
No, I did ask him. I think I asked him up front. I'm like, "Would you mind doing it? Like, if you don't want to do it, it's totally cool.
Like,
but if you do, like, we could do a little interaction with Skeletor." And he was like, "No, of course." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." And then after the interview was over, I'm like, or after the bulk of the interview was over, I asked him, what Skeletor would think about a show like this, and then he broke into it.
He did.
And he didn't miss a beat.
Nope.
It was amazing.
You also met Rob Paulson.
I also met Rob Paulson. His name was Robert Paulson. The dude played Yakko Warner, among everyone else, Mr. Opportunity from the Subaru commercials, and
yeah, he did.
He's everyone.
Yeah, he is, and he's still working today.
Yeah, he's still working today. He's still doing everything. He's Donatello on the new Ninja Turtles cartoon, and was Raphael back in the day.
That was one of the best ConnecticCons we've ever been to, and it was just, I think they just scheduled it correctly.
They just did it right. It's never been like that before or since.
Yeah.
And I don't think it ever will be like that again.
Yeah, I had the opportunity that same con to meet someone who I was excited for,
but didn't realize how excited until you got the opportunity.
Yeah, and like literally, like it was one of those things where we were shooting all day, and then like we just kept missing her.
Yeah.
And by the time we got to her, it was like she was pretty much leaving. She was going to a panel, and that was going to be it for the day, and we were only there for the one day, so I almost completely missed out on it. But because of how cool she was, she stayed, and she got through her line.
Yes.
To her handler's chagrin,
yes.
I might add. And I have a photo with her, but who I'm talking about is I met the voice of GLaDOS.
Yes.
And she is amazing, and literally, I was so nervous the more I got, and like I can't even pinpoint why, other than like I love Portal.
Yeah.
I love Portal too. Like I love that whole series, and she is like a little grandma.
Yeah.
And like I was like, oh my god, I can't believe this is happening. And like right before me, she met a couple of other people, and she sang like a little opera because, by the way, she's an opera singer. And I was like, yeah, in the photo of me, I am grinning like an idiot.
You're grinning like I am in my complimentary photo. No, that was, and I'm so glad we got that opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was great.
I also met Jennifer Hale.
And you met Jennifer Hale.
I, like, what I like to call, every once in a while this will happen to me, I verbally threw up on her.
Yeah.
And what that means is I got up to Jennifer Hale, who's been a voice actor for pretty much everybody. She's Commander Shepard from Mass Effect.
She was Captain Marvel or Ms. Marvel in the Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes cartoon. Yep. And every female character from 1994
Not
to
everyone,
now.
But, like, she is incredible.
Yeah, she's Shepard in Mass Effect.
She is. That might be, that's the number one thing I could point to. But she was a voice actor who back in the day played a lot of female characters that I loved. Mm-hmm. And, like, just...
Me too.
Showed me that, like, the strength of a female protagonist in any role. And I remember getting up to her and just being like, bleh!
And, like, that's a tip for you guys that, like, this is going to happen.
It is.
Especially the more cons you go to and the more people that you admire or respect or love or are a huge fan of, the more people that you meet, the easier it becomes until you meet someone that you never expected to meet.
Yep.
It'll blow your goddamn mind.
It will.
And it will also haunt your days because, like, you'll say something and you're like, I said this to this person and I'm never going to meet them again. And
that's right.
And that's over.
No, it's literally like my interaction with her was telling her how awesome she was, pretty much just using different adjectives and saying the exact same thing, probably a dozen times, shaking her hand, and then walking away, and then afterwards being like,
what happened?
What did I just do?
And that's the thing to keep in mind, like, this will happen.
It
and
will.
It's totally okay because it'll happen again.
Yes.
Or you'll get better.
You will get better, and, like,
but sometimes you won't.
And that's okay, because as we've noticed, they're fine with it.
Yeah, well, because they've experienced it 1,000 times a day.
They've experienced it, and it's kind of flattering.
I met Kevin Smith in 2000 at a Suncoast Video as a signing, and then I met him again in 2006 at New York Comic Con, and then I met him again last year after New York Comic Con after a whatever the show is that he does with Ralph Garman. I'm drawing a blank, but it's the biggest show he does.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, but it's his podcast. And,
wow.
We had worked out a thing where we got to go to the show for free, and then we went to the green room. We got to hang out with him for a little while.
Yeah.
And my interaction with him was, I've met the man 2 times. We've interacted on Twitter before, and then I met him again, and I practically farted on his face, from just not having anything of value or interest to say, and I had something to say. Hollywood Babylon,
That's
thank
it.
you. I had something to say, and it was, you should check out my goddamn YouTube channel, and I didn't.
Yeah.
Just fucked up.
Yeah.
And Ben was there, got to meet him, and didn't also do it, so fuck you, Ben.
Yeah.
But it'll happen to you, and it'll happen to you in positions where, you shouldn't, you would not expect it.
Right.
We've met members of the population who, couldn't who had the same experience. They're like, bah! Which is, by the way, don't worry about that.
Yeah.
It's like having an interaction at the 7-Eleven. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And we're always happy to meet you, by the way. If you ever run into us at a show, don't not. Because we've had people who thought the better of it. They were like, oh, that's Sal or Tiffany. I don't want to bother them. And then they think twice, and so we'll be walking away and I'll hear, Sal!
Yeah.
Just scream at me.
And that's fine.
And I'm like, what? And they're like, ah! And it's delightful. I love it every time.
It is. By the way, that is kind of a pro, too, to having someone with you who may not know them or be as big a fan. We've done that several times where,
one of us will be a huge fan and the other one isn't.
It's like the wingman. I've definitely done that with you, where, maybe you meeting a writer who is from, your childhood.
Yes.
And, I'll see him start to not know where to go with it, and I'll just be like...
Yeah, and
I'll be like, hey... Just to give him a chance to
gather my goddamn shit
together. And then he
can
actually have his conversation.
Yeah, meeting Linda Hamilton was that.
Yes!
And that photo, that photo in of itself is I've never, I've been I'm just freaking out.
Yeah, no, he is. He's exploding in that photo. That photo is perfect because, again, another moment where the celebrity themselves was super, super nice.
Yeah.
And she, when Sal went to take the photo, it wasn't just, lean over the table. She was like, no, you come around the table, and you sit in the chair next to me. And then she hugged Sal like they knew each other really well.
Yeah, it was very cool.
And that was so sweet. But, that was a moment where you were like, ah, and I'm like, hey.
Yeah, and you fixed it. So where were we? Connecticut, Clifton?
Oh yeah, the Little Cons.
Let's talk about Wizard World shows really quick.
Yeah, that's a totally different experience.
Completely different experience. I've only had one really pleasant experience at a Wizard World show.
That's not true.
No.
Because we've gone to Wizard World Philly, and that was kind of fun.
Oh yeah, Wizard World Philly. Ben and I were there this year.
Yeah, you guys went there. I've been there the past.
Yeah.
I got on My Little Pony there.
Yeah, you did. I met Dapper Dan Schoening from Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters International, who I've worked with and is a good friend of mine.
I know, and I can't believe I didn't get a chance to say hi to him.
I know. But he's super cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, Wizard World Philly, the thing that was the most fun this year was actually just meeting members of the population. I didn't meet anybody besides Dan that I gave a crap about, but the people that actually watched the channel. I was like, hey!
Yeah.
And that was really fucking fun.
Yeah.
Also, Ben had like a serious illness and shared his root beer that he bought with me the entire day, and I didn't get sick somehow.
Yeah, I don't know how that even happened.
He had like fucking laryngitis or some shit. Like he had a throat illness that is very contagious. I drank from the same goblet all day. It was a literal goblet. There's a soda company that will occasionally go to these shows. There's a huge booth.
I thought it was like a tankard kind of thing.
It's a huge like thing. I don't know, but like you buy.
Does it have a handle?
Yeah, it has.
Then it's not a goblet.
All right, it's a goddamn cup you drink out of. But if you buy the thing, you get free refills all weekend. And we just drank from it. And then like 2 days later, he was like, "Oh boy," and I'm like, "What?"
Yeah.
Fine. But anyway.
Oh, and that's another thing. Crud.
Yeah.
It's a real thing. We've all heard of it before. The number one solution. Because here's the thing. You're going to touch things. You're going to shake hands. You can't help it. Like, you try not to, but it's going to happen. There is hand sanitizer typically at the shows.
But bring your own.
Bring your own. Just
it costs like a nickel.
Just bring a little thing, and then, like, you don't have to, like, look, if you remember to do it after everything you touch, great. But if you don't, at least before you eat, after you use the bathroom, that's a great time. They're like, oh yeah, quick, there you go. It makes the biggest difference.
It really does, because, like, here's the thing. You're going to be in a room full of, like, thousands of people, and not everyone is the most conscientious about their sanitation, which is another thing. Bring a stick of travel deodorant with you if you're bringing a bag.
Yeah.
Like, I was going to say wear deodorant, but the fact is, like, I'll shoot an episode of Back Issues and be like, God damn. So, like, you bring...
Well, here's what's funny.
Bring something.
The cons, the bigger cons that you'll go to, you'll run to these areas that are ridiculously warm and these areas that are freezing.
So, like, you're gonna... Yeah, it's gonna be a weird experience.
Yeah, so, like, the homeostasis that's happening is gonna be completely out of
like,
whack.
If a show is in, like, let's say, October...
Yeah.
It could... And in New York, it could either be 65 degrees or 20.
Yep.
So you never know if you need to bring a goddamn jacket.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. What we found over the time of meeting great people and having these experiences at these shows, you can, if you have a friend with a booth, that is the most invaluable thing in the show.
It really is.
Because I'll be damned if I'm going to spend $20 to check my coat.
Yeah, he won't do it. He'd rather just be cold.
But I have friends at these shows now who I could, like, leave a jacket at their booth.
Yep.
They'll just tuck it underneath. And I'll bring a shitty jacket so that if it gets on the ground and they kick it, I don't care.
Now, by the way, just if you have a person like that you know, and, like, maybe you're not, like, super great friends, you're just kind of acquaintances.
Ask them.
Not just ask them, but it's kind of a nice show of faith to be, like, maybe partway through the con, be like, can I get you something to drink?
Yeah.
Can I get you some coffee? Can I get you a snack? And just do that, and trust me, that's what they'll remember. They won't remember that you left stuff at their booth.
They'll remember that you were helpful.
Yes,
yeah.
exactly.
Or
offer to watch the booth for a little bit.
That's another thing.
We've occasionally done that.
We have done that on a number of occasions. If you have a booth yourself, you're gonna want to leave almost immediately after you get it. Like you're gonna suddenly realize you need to pee, or you're suddenly gonna realize that, like, you don't want to sit for 6 hours and you have a booth that you spent $2,000 on. What are you gonna do? So,
or you want to just see the con.
Yeah, you're missing the whole show.
That if you're not part of a team and you're at the booth, like,
that's you.
You don't really get to see it.
Yeah. So if you do have a booth and no matter what show you're at, bring a friend.
Yeah,
definitely. Because it's going to be necessary.
Yep.
Whether you're there or, like, whether you're at the bathroom or whether you're just bored, it's easier for your fans or for potential fans to walk up to you if you're talking to a human being rather than looking at your phone.
Yeah.
That I find that I will almost never walk up to a person at a booth, whether it's a celebrity, whether it's a creator, whether it's anybody, if they're doing this.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's because I feel like I'm really intruding on something, or whether it's really, like, inhospitable of them to do that.
It is.
But I never want to bother them when it comes to that. And I don't blame them for being on their phone, because you're not always on. You're not always interacting with people if you're selling T-shirts or you're selling prints or you're making like commissions. You know, there's going to be a lot of downtime, and you're going to find yourself like bored.
Yes.
So bring a goddamn friend.
Yeah.
Don't rely on just like running into friends at the show, because by the way, you might not. Like, people are really busy, and the more into this world that we get, the more this con actually becomes a legitimate convention where we're meeting people to like make business. A
lot of it's working at this point, which is fine, because you still get to enjoy the con.
Yeah.
You still do get to see it at some point, but a lot of it's, you know, especially now, if you're with the weekly poll, you guys have got panels to do. And
we have 2 panels at New York Comic Con this year.
Now, and that doesn't include me, but what that does include is for those of us who are with ComicPOP and will be at the show, that means that if there's any sort of filming going on...
Yeah. Although I will say we don't really shoot conventions anymore.
We don't, but if something like that, like, we might film the weekly poll panels.
And we often will shoot something.
Yes.
Some kind of video.
Inevitably, work will happen.
Yes, but I also like that we don't shoot as much as we used to.
No. And let's talk about moving around the con.
Okay.
A place like New York is notorious for being difficult, especially on a Saturday.
Yeah, and there, it's gotten to the point where there almost aren't any good days to go. No,
it's true. But Saturday in particular can be really rough, and it comes down to being aware. And I know I'm guilty of this myself, because there's so much going on around you.
Yeah,
you're literally
like, everything at a Comic-Con is designed to
catch your attention.
Yeah. And so it either becomes a blur or it becomes an assault on your senses.
Exactly. So it's difficult sometimes to not find yourself just stopping and looking around.
Yeah.
But the people behind you
are moving, and they're going to hit you.
Yeah, and they're going to be annoyed, and it's one thing to do it and then to not like be like aware of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's totally another thing to do it and then be completely unaware of it and to keep doing it. So definitely just do your best to be aware. Again, you can't always. It's going to happen. Something's going to distract you. Whether it be a cosplayer, whether it be an awesome statue that you saw, or like a sale of some kind. Like something will distract you inevitably, but just try to be aware as much as you can, because trust me, it'll go a long way to keeping things moving and to keeping people in a good mood.
That's true. Another thing is to like be respectful to everyone around you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're in a world now where like, you know, cosplay is not consent, and it's like, be really cool with cosplayers.
Yeah.
Number one, they can't carry money, so they're not buying anything at the show.
Yeah.
So like, and that must frustrate the shit out of them.
Yeah, unless they have pouches.
Right, unless they have pouches. Number two, like, they're wearing something that they spent a lot of time and effort on.
Yeah.
And they're thinking about that constantly.
Yes.
And number three, they're putting themselves out there. If they're dressing like a superhero, they're probably not going to be in the most conservative dress.
Right.
Be respectful.
And, and not just of them in their personal space, but like you said, like they spend a lot of money on it. If they, like, regardless of how ornate the costume is, there's always the risk that you could break it.
Yeah.
By touching it.
Yeah. So if you're doing a picture with a cosplayer, like, try to pick a pose that doesn't involve touching.
Right. Or let them take the lead. Let them make the decision on how this should go.
Exactly.
You know.
And that goes for everybody, really. Like, not just cosplayers, but everyone that you encounter. Like, always ask permission.
Yeah, always. Absolutely.
Like, never think that there's never an appropriate opportunity to be like, can I do this?
Right.
Is it cool if I do this?
Right.
You know, gesturing with your camera is not necessarily a request.
No. No, it's not.
Doing one of these is not.
And by the way, it's a different also situation if there's a cosplayer who's stopped and there's a group. Jump in. That's fine.
Jump in and grab it because everyone's taking pictures.
It's totally fine. You don't have to ask at that point.
No.
Like, they're stopped, they're posed, they're doing their thing.
Yep.
Like,
you want to get a picture over somebody else's shoulder, boom.
Go for it.
But
you don't
but when they're by themselves, or they're walking with a group, or they're like making an adjustment, you know, like the time would be to be like, excuse me.
Hey, would you mind if I grabbed a photo with you?
Yes, or of you.
Oh, or of you. Then that's another thing. Like, try to phrase it so that they know what to expect.
Yes, exactly.
Also, I noticed someone earlier said to be kind to the crew.
Yeah.
The people who volunteer there, they don't have to do it.
And they're not getting paid.
No, but they are getting a free ticket.
That's true.
I did that.
Yeah, you did that at New York Comic Con.
Yeah, one of the early New York Comic Cons, Danielle and I decided that we wanted to try volunteering. And they had plenty of volunteers. It's a cool experience.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's like now, but the experience was awesome. We essentially had to go to a meeting, like, a week or so before.
Yep.
We showed up. They pretty much explained everything that would be going on at the con, what we were responsible for knowing, what was going to happen the day that we were volunteering for, the fact that they had plenty of volunteers, so essentially they were breaking things up into like half shifts.
Yeah.
But you still got your pass, essentially, after that.
Yeah.
We went. We had like a morning session that we had a volunteer for. The guys did come and visit us.
Yeah.
We ended up, I was downstairs, and I think Danielle was too. We were in the panel area.
Yeah.
So essentially we were just kind of directing people to panels. And then our time was up, but they were still kind of short for some reason.
Yeah.
So we stayed. And then I inevitably ended up like, I was at that point because the shifts had changed, so like we became like not really senior members, but like we had then more experience than the people who were coming in. So we were like running the panel area, and Danielle was like in rooms and like holding up signs to let like the panelists know
how much time
when
they have
to
left.
go. And for the most part, people were really friendly, but a lot of that had to do, I noticed, with the actual volunteers' attitude. Like we were upbeat, we were cheery, we were happy. You're running into people down there, especially in the panel area, who are like, I'm late for this panel. It's the end of the world. You know what I mean? Like
they're flustered.
They're flustered. So a lot of stuff I took in stride.
Well,
and nobody was overly like mean.
But that also helps to diffuse any potential situation. If like you're a volunteer and you're being really cool, odds are you're gonna feel like a dick if you're gonna be a dick back to them.
Yeah.
So like, reciprocated, and what goes around comes around. It's really cool.
But like honestly, like the volunteering part of it was a really cool experience. They definitely like it just gave me like a totally different perspective on it.
Yeah.
Like, there's so much going on behind the scenes of the con in order to make it flow. There's so many walkie-talkies.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to celebrities and like trying to wrangle them. Like there's so many moving parts with that whole thing. And also, like, it's kind of cool because you make friends.
That's the thing. Like, so if you are like interested in a free ticket and you're thinking about going by yourself, consider volunteering. Like, see about that.
But you definitely will have to be local because there will probably be a preliminary meeting. You will have to show up. You get a T-shirt.
Yeah,
I still have my T-shirt.
Yeah. That was during Secret Invasion. You also got a mask.
I had a scroll mask.
Yeah.
So it was cool. Like that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And it was a totally different experience than going to the con.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's fun to see the con from multiple angles. And when I say the con, I mean like any con
at all.
So, when it comes to going to these cons, planning is essential.
Yeah, like not even like super essential. Like the day before, check out the schedule.
Yeah, check out the schedule and see and like I said, priorities are key.
Yeah, you got to decide like if there's only someone there for a day, that's a high priority for you. If there's a panel you want to go to, have a backup just in case it's filled.
That's true.
Like schedule something else for that time potentially.
Yeah.
Pack ahead.
Yeah.
Like for the most part, they don't really give you a hard time about bringing certain stuff into the con.
Mm-hmm.
Bring a water bottle, whether it's something easily refilled.
Oh, you want to definitely bring a water bottle. And by the way, like if you're going to bring food to the con, or you're going to have food at the con, make sure that it's something that is not going to fill the room with a particular smell, or stain your clothes, or get anywhere.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to do that. Like, but a quick snack. Like, bring a protein bar.
A protein bar, like potato chips.
Something like that, especially if you think, like, okay, like, there's a panel or there's a signing or something I want to get to or kind of around lunchtime. Like, I'm going to bring this. Hold me over.
Yeah.
By the way, that's also a good tip. If you want to get lunch, you go a little after your typical lunch hour. You'll have a way easier time.
It's true, especially at the larger cons. Smaller cons, you won't probably have to worry about getting back in or anything like that.
No, absolutely not. And even with the larger cons at this point, like they've really streamlined the getting in and out process.
Yeah.
It's just the end of the day is the most difficult part to actually get out.
Totally.
Sundays sometimes you can get a deal.
That's the thing.
Sometimes,
when it comes to the retailing floor, it used to be that Sundays were the day to start doing the wheeling and dealing. Just a second. Pardon me.
But not always, especially earlier in what is now called the con season. If they know they have other cons to go to, they don't worry about giving deals. But if you're closer to the end of the con season, those guys are probably going to be looking to get rid of some of their inventory.
That's the thing, is that a lot of these guys who are selling retail. Thank you very much for the lessons, everyone. A lot of people who have a vendor booth, they had to fill boxes with all their shit and then travel with those boxes, then carry them onto the floor, then unpack those boxes, and then try to sell what's in those boxes. Then they load those boxes up on Sunday and have to bring all that shit back. If you want some of the things that are on those boxes, that's the time to start making offers.
Right, and not like crazy offers, but if you like start in a pretty decent place, they might actually entertain it.
It's at least an opportunity for you to try it.
Yeah.
I think, and I definitely encourage haggling, especially in a time when like you kind of like have a better opportunity or when it's more expected. Friday, no one's going to haggle with you. No one's interested. But Sunday, you might even find that some retailers have already lowered their prices.
Yeah, a lot of them do. A lot of them have sales at the end there, like, you know, like final like hour of the con sales, and they'll start slashing prices.
Yeah.
Another good tip, which we have used, but if you want to offer a certain dollar amount, have that in your hand. Do not show them your wallet.
Yes, that's a big thing. Also, you will find that a lot of this is unrelated and quasi-related when it comes to like buying things with vendors and buying things on our Alley anywhere. Have cash.
Yeah.
The ATMs are going to be a gouger. They're going to be like at $5-6 to withdraw. A lot of these guys now have the app or the little device on their phone, the Square, that you can swipe. But retailers, you know, it's harder. It's especially harder to. You can't haggle when you're using a credit card.
Well, no, it's not just that, but there's a fee to use Square, so they're losing out a little bit there. So either they're going to jack the price up a little bit, or they're going to try to dissuade you from using it.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for cash, you don't want to use the ATM, I'd recommend trying to hit up a convenience store in the area, use your debit card there and get cash back.
Right.
You don't have to, like, you'll still technically pay the fee because you're buying an item, but you get to keep that item.
That's true.
But if you have the cash, the retailers are sometimes a little more willing to deal with you and haggle with you because that's cash they just put in their pocket.
That's right. You'll find when you're buying anything, this is just a general offer or tip. If you're buying anything, cash is always preferred because usually they just put that money in their pocket and they don't claim it. Like when you're buying a car, for example.
Oh, yeah.
The car just went away, and then they get money.
Yeah. Also, unless something is, like, super either rare or something that is, like, clearly you think will probably actually sell out, don't, like, impulse buying, it happens.
Yep.
But, like, for the most part, a lot of the items will always be there.
Yeah.
So it's okay to walk away and then decide if you want to have it. But it's like, let's say you get there and you immediately see something, you're like, I want that. But then you get another booth down, and there's something you wanted even more. The person you just bought from is probably not going to take it back.
Or you see the same thing for $5 less.
Exactly. So it's not bad to take it takes a small risk, but to take a walk and figure it out.
Yeah, it also gives you a chance to like walk the floor, which I think is always advisable on the first day or so. If you don't have a list of shit you want to get done or you know, if you don't have like a stack of comics you want to get signed, you don't want to meet somebody right away. Walk the floor and get a feel for the entire area. Especially if it's a larger show, you're going to want to like take in the sights, see how it all works together, and know where everything is. Especially if you're getting there first before like any of your friends do, or if you're just going by yourself. It's good to know your surroundings.
Yes.
Because once you realize you want something, you're going to want to get there, and you might not know where you are or where you're going because it's hard to kind of like position yourself. So yeah.
Someone asked any advice against pickpockets.
Those fanny packs are terrific. I prefer one that's like bright colors so they know where it is.
Yeah.
With like a Disney character.
Honestly, like, let's say you have a backpack, don't make it super easy to get to.
Yeah.
Like, even if that means that you have to struggle to get to your own wallet, that's where you put it. Don't put it in one of those back pockets. No,
I always wear when I carry a wallet, I always have it in my front pocket. If you normally keep it in your back pocket, I would start switching.
Yeah, because especially for a guy, you're gonna notice that.
You're gonna notice someone reaching for the front of your pants. Yeah. But back pocket, it's usually how pickpockets go.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, I really like pare down what I bring with me. Like, I don't need. Like, if I have, like, a credit card and a debit card, I don't need them both.
Right.
I'm going to take one or the other, and I'm going to take the one that I think has better protection on it. Cash-wise, a lot of times I'll keep some of it in my wallet, some of it in my front pocket.
That's the thing. When I said, like, make sure that you have cash on you, don't put it all in one place.
No, you want to, like, put it various places, and then, like, look, if you want to go, like, totally crazy, put some of it in your shoe, you know what I mean? Like, especially if you're new to this whole experience, let's say you've never been to New York before, you know, like, fine, do that. Like, it's not a bad idea if you're not from the area, like, go for it, why not? That's your backup just in case. And again, but that's another thing to always be aware. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
and if you're in a con with a big city, or any kind of city, get a lay of the land beforehand. I would recommend getting like the Uber app if you're going to use Uber, but more importantly, get a map of get an understanding of how the public transportation system works and where you're going to be staying in relation to the city itself.
Yep.
So that you can get there and out without lollygagging. Yep.
Also, especially at New York, and I know we harp on this a lot, but we've been to New York a lot, and it's one of the larger conventions on the East Coast. It's not the largest. At New York, make sure you explore the entire convention center because they pretty much take up all of the Javits, and you'll find that most of the cosplay, if that's what you're looking for, it's outside.
Yes.
On a nice day, it's all outside. So, if you're looking for, there'll be other areas where there's cosplay, but they started to move more of the photo stuff outside. So if you're looking for photo ops or you're looking for certain cosplayers, that's where they're going to be. It's
true.
But they don't tell you that. That's just something that it's an unspoken thing. Yeah. It just happens.
It's true. So that concludes our conversation about Comic-Cons and tips and stories that we've shared with you. What we're going to do is we're going to wrap up the recorded session, and then I want to take a quick Q&A for cons if you have any specific questions that we want to field for you about a show, especially since they're coming up. And I want to thank you guys for watching and joining us here on the Elseworlds Exchange. And we'll see you guys next time with an all-new episode. I am Sal.
And I'm Tiffany.
Thanks a lot for watching, everybody. Or listening in that case. Bye.